Chosen one, you are not here by accident, and you did not press play by chance. This moment was scheduled in heaven before you ever felt the weight of it in your spirit. What you sensed recently, the quiet pressure, the sudden stillness, the strange awareness that something has shifted, was not imagination. It was confirmation. You crossed a threshold, and the verdict has already been released. Chosen one, you passed the final test, and now you are standing at the edge of a supernatural turning point. This is the hour where obedience is rewarded, where endurance is acknowledged, where hidden faith is met with visible response. Scripture says that God exalts in due season, and this is that season. What was delayed was not denied. What was withheld was being prepared. What looked like silence was alignment. Anointed one, heaven is leaning toward your life right now, not to tease you, but to transfer what you are finally ready to carry. This is not just spiritual elevation, it is divine realignment that touches provision, favor, access, and authority. A wealth transfer is near, not only of resources, but of responsibility and trust. Let your spirit come into agreement. Let expectation rise without striving. What God is about to reveal will explain the pressure, the delay, and the test you just survived. Stay present, stay open. What comes next will change how you see everything. Chosen one, slow your spirit and hear this clearly. What you walked through was not random hardship, and it was not wasted suffering. Heaven was watching closely when the pressure increased, not to see if you would perform, but to see who you would become. And in that moment when compromise was available and silence felt costly, you chose alignment. That choice released a verdict in the unseen. You did not merely endure the test, you passed it with your heart intact. Many survive trials by hardening, by numbing, by retreating inward. You did something different. You stayed soft without becoming weak. You stayed faithful without becoming desperate. You stayed obedient even when obedience felt unrewarded. That is why heaven leaned in. Chosen one, the test was never about your ability. It was about your posture. God was not measuring how much you could carry, but how you would carry it. Would you remain grounded when misunderstood? Would you keep your integrity when shortcuts presented themselves? Would you trust God's timing when your own timeline was exhausted? Those were the questions, and your life answered them quietly but convincingly. I know what it feels like to stand in that place where doing the right thing costs more than doing the easy thing. I remember seasons where faith felt invisible and obedience felt lonely. I remember asking God why progress seemed slower for me than for others who appeared less careful, less faithful, less refined. What I didn't realize then was that God was building something deeper than momentum. He was building capacity. Chosen one, capacity always comes before increase. God will never release what your character cannot sustain. That is why the delay lasted longer than you expected. That is why the pressure intensified right before the shift. Heaven was not withholding. Heaven was preparing you to hold what is coming without losing yourself in it. This is why everything feels different now. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but you can sense the shift. The atmosphere around your decisions has changed. What once drained you now repels you. What once tempted you no longer fits. That is not loss. That is alignment. When the test ends, clarity begins. You may feel tired, but there is a deeper steadiness underneath the fatigue. You may feel quiet, but there is authority settling in that silence. The restlessness you feel is not confusion, it is anticipation, restrained by wisdom. Heaven does not rush what is sacred. Chosen one, the verdict has already been spoken. You were not disqualified by delay. You were not forgotten in the waiting. You were being refined, and now refinement has given way to readiness. The season ahead will not require you to prove anything. It will require you to steward what has been entrusted. Stay grounded here. Let this truth anchor you. You passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. And faithfulness is the currency heaven responds to. What follows will make sense only because of what you survived. Chosen one, there is a reason the air has felt heavier since the test ended. Victory in the spirit never arrives quietly. When heaven confirms alignment, the unseen responds immediately, and your body is often the first place the shift is felt. That tightness in your chest, the pressure behind your thoughts, the restless awareness that rises without explanation is not fear. It is transition. Your spirit moved ahead of your understanding, and now your inner world is catching up to where heaven has already positioned you. I remember a season when peace and discomfort lived in the same room. Nothing was visibly wrong, yet everything felt intense. Sleep became shallow. Old memories resurfaced without warning. Thoughts returned that I believed I had already healed from. At the time, I wondered if something was breaking inside me. Later, I understood that this is what happens when God closes one chapter and your soul hesitates to release familiar pain. You are not unraveling, chosen one, you are shedding. What you are experiencing now is not punishment, it is preparation. When God prepares to promote, he brings unresolved fragments into the light, not to shame you, but to free you. The enemy calls this weakness. Heaven calls it alignment. Scripture reminds us that deep calls to deep, and what is rising now is responding to a call placed inside you long before this season began. That call does not activate until endurance has been proven. You endured silence that made you question your worth. You endured delay that made you question your calling. You endured relational loss that made you question whether obedience was costing too much. And still, you stayed. That staying power is what shifted the atmosphere. That is why resistance has intensified. Darkness does not fight beginnings, it fights endings. And you are ending a cycle that benefited what was meant to hold you back. Chosen one, listen carefully. The backlash you feel is not evidence of failure. It is confirmation of impact. When a test is passed, the next phase always involves separation. Not everyone who walked with you can follow you into what comes next. This is where many people panic and try to drag old connections forward. Do not do that. God is lightening your load because where you are going requires clarity, not consensus. I know how lonely this phase feels. I have stood in rooms where I was loved but not understood, supported but not protected. I smiled while carrying grief I could not explain. That season taught me something essential. God does some of his deepest work when he removes the audience. Not because he wants isolation, but because he wants focus. The transfer requires it. Chosen one, financial breakthrough is not just money appearing, it is order being restored, it is leaks being sealed, habits being refined, discernment being sharpened. God does not release abundance into chaos. That is why he has been rearranging your inner world first. What feels slow is precise. What feels uncomfortable is merciful. Right now, heaven is recalibrating your perception. You are learning to recognize peace instead of adrenaline, alignment instead of urgency, authority instead of approval. This is why your tolerance for noise has dropped. This is why certain conversations exhaust you. Your spirit is being trained to protect what is coming. Do not rush this phase, chosen one. Let the separation complete its work. Let the memories surface and pass without judgment. Let the emotions move through without interpretation. You are not being pulled backward. You are being cleared forward. And once this clearing finishes, the acceleration will surprise you, because what God releases next does not arrive through striving. It arrives through readiness, and readiness is being formed in you now. Chosen one, there is a reason the air around you has felt heavier since the test ended. Victory in the spirit never arrives quietly. When heaven confirms alignment, the unseen responds immediately, and your body is often the first place where the shift is felt. That pressure in your chest, the weight behind your thoughts, and the restlessness rising without explanation are not signs of fear. They are signals of transition. Your spirit stepped forward before your understanding could follow, and now your inner world is learning how to stand where heaven has already positioned you. I have walked through seasons like this, moments where peace and discomfort occupied the same space. Nothing looked wrong, yet everything felt intense. Sleep grew light, prayers felt thin, and old memories returned without warning. I remember wondering whether something inside me was breaking. In time, God showed me that this tension appears when growth outruns familiarity. You are not unraveling, chosen one. You are shedding skins that cannot travel into the next season. This phase exists because heaven is preparing you for increase. Promotion in the kingdom is not rushed, it is weighed. Scripture reminds us that those who are faithful in little are entrusted with more, and you have proven faithfulness in places no one applauded. The quiet obedience you practiced when it cost you comfort became the evidence heaven needed to proceed. Chosen one, resistance often increases after alignment because what once tolerated your presence can no longer ignore your authority. This is why certain relationships have grown strained, why conversations feel shallow, and why your spirit withdraws without effort. You are not losing people, you are being repositioned. God is reducing noise so you can hear direction. He is simplifying your world so clarity can lead. I know how lonely this stretch can feel. I have stood in rooms where I was loved but misunderstood, needed but not protected. Those experiences taught me that isolation is sometimes the womb of authority. What feels like separation is actually insulation. God guards what He plans to expand. Do not mistake the stillness for stagnation. The ground beneath you is shifting, even if the surface appears calm. Financial breakthrough does not arrive randomly. It flows through order. God has been aligning your habits, refining your discernment, and strengthening your boundaries so provision can remain a blessing, not a burden. Right now, heaven is teaching you to recognize peace over urgency, obedience over impulse, and alignment over approval. This is why your tolerance for distraction has dropped. Your spirit is learning to protect what is coming, and what is coming will require maturity more than excitement. Let this stage complete its work. Do not rush the release by clinging to what God is quietly removing. The acceleration will come, but it will arrive through readiness, not striving. When heaven moves, it moves with precision. And when the door opens, you will step through with confidence that could only be formed here. What follows this season will not require explanation. It will speak for itself. Favor will recognize you. Opportunity will locate you. Provision will meet you. And when it does, you will remember this moment and understand why God insisted on depth before display. The aftershock you feel now is not a warning. It is confirmation that alignment has occurred and heaven is preparing to release what only the faithful can sustain. Chosen one, remain steady. What you passed was final. What follows will astonish you beyond what you imagined. Stay grounded, breathe, and trust the timing. Heaven does not waste preparation. Every delay refined you. Every tear strengthened you. Every unanswered prayer trained your endurance. The weight you now carry will soon translate into authority, provision, and influence. Remain teachable, remain humble, remain aligned. What begins next will unfold with speed, favor, and undeniable grace ahead. Chosen one, now we must go deeper, because what followed your alignment was not random resistance, but exposure. When heaven shifts a person's position, whatever has been hiding in the shadows is forced into the light. That is why old wounds resurfaced. That is why familiar pain suddenly spoke louder. The test did not end the battle. It revealed who had been fighting you all along. There was a war waged against you that never announced itself. It moved quietly, through doubt, through delay, through the slow erosion of confidence. It whispered questions when no one else was listening. It asked whether God truly saw you, whether obedience mattered, whether endurance was worth the cost. That voice did not come from weakness. It came from pressure applied at the exact point of your calling. I have heard that voice before. It doesn't shout, it reasons, it sounds logical. It waits until you are tired, until disappointment stacks high, until patience thins. Then it asks why someone else advanced while you remained hidden. If that voice visited you, it was not because you were failing, it was because you were close. Chosen one, imposter thoughts do not appear when destiny is dormant. They surface when promotion approaches. The enemy never wastes energy on what carries no future. He attacks what threatens his territory. The doubt you wrestled with was evidence of value, not deficiency. It showed up because your authority was expanding faster than your confidence could adjust. This is where many people retreat. They confuse spiritual pressure with personal inadequacy. They step back just as heaven prepares to step forward. You did not retreat, you stayed. Even when clarity blurred, even when motivation faded, even when you felt unqualified, that decision shifted something ancient. Now understand this. What was exposed was not meant to shame you, it was meant to be dismantled. God does not reveal battles to mock his children, he reveals them to end them. Scripture tells us that what is brought into the light loses its power, and what has been exposed in you is losing its grip. There is also something else surfacing now, something you may not have language for yet. Your discernment has sharpened. You sense shifts before they occur. You feel when something is off, even if words sound right. This gift has always been present, but it carries weight. Knowing truth without permission to speak it is exhausting. Carrying awareness without validation drains the soul. I know what it is like to hold insight silently, to see patterns others dismiss, to feel tension others ignore. It creates isolation even in crowded rooms. But hear this, chosen one. Discernment is not given for comfort, it is given for protection. God sharpened your perception so you could survive what others could not. This is why certain environments now feel unbearable. This is why false peace unsettles you. Your spirit can no longer pretend. That is not rebellion, that is maturation. Heaven is teaching you to trust what you sense without needing approval to validate it. As this awareness increases, separation follows, not as punishment but as protocol. God does not expose his chosen to unnecessary interference. He removes distractions before releasing direction. The solitude you feel is strategic, the quiet is instructional. Do not interpret this phase emotionally, interpret it spiritually. You are being trained to stand alone without being lonely, to listen without being led astray, to move without being rushed. The battle you survived has proven something vital. You can carry truth without collapsing under it. This is why the next phase will involve authority, not survival. But authority requires clarity, and clarity requires space. Let the exposure complete its work. Let the false narratives dissolve. Let the hidden battles lose their voice. Because what emerges next is not confusion, but command. And you are closer to that moment than you realize. Chosen one, this is the part many never understand because it feels like loss before it feels like power. After exposure comes separation, and separation is not rejection, it is instruction. Heaven does not distance you from what it plans to bless you with. It distances you from what would contaminate the blessing once it arrives. What feels like loneliness is actually precision. I have walked through this season myself. Friends drifted without explanation. Familiar spaces felt heavy. Conversations that once energized me began to drain me. At first I resisted it. I tried to hold everything together, thinking faith meant endurance without boundaries. God corrected me gently. He showed me that endurance without discernment leads to depletion, not elevation. Chosen one, when God prepares to entrust authority, he teaches silence before speech. This is why you feel the urge to explain yourself fading. You are learning that not everyone deserves access to your process. Silence is not weakness, it is governance. Scripture reminds us that even Jesus withdrew often, not because he lacked love, but because he understood timing. This season is asking you to stop narrating your life to people who cannot steward the information. The visions you carry are not fragile, but they are sacred. When spoken too early, they become targets. Heaven is asking you to guard your mouth so God can guard your movement. This is not secrecy born of fear, it is wisdom born of experience. You are also being called into withdrawal, not isolation rooted in pain, but separation rooted in purpose. There is a difference. Withdrawal heals what constant access keeps reopening. You have given much of yourself away in past seasons, sometimes to people who only knew how to take. God is teaching you to close doors gently but firmly. This discipline is preparing you for financial and spiritual increase. Abundance flows where boundaries exist. Wealth transfer requires emotional maturity, not just spiritual hunger. God has been refining your ability to say no without guilt, to rest without apology, to choose alignment over approval. These are not small skills, they are foundational. Chosen one, authority does not shout, it settles. That is why your spirit is quieter now. You are no longer reacting, you are discerning. You are no longer chasing affirmation, you are listening for instruction. This shift is necessary because the next season will move quickly. What once required effort will soon require decision. I know the temptation is to rush ahead, to fill the silence with activity, to seek reassurance through movement. Resist that urge. Stillness is building something in you. God is recalibrating your internal compass so you do not mistake opportunity for assignment. Not every open door is divine. The discipline you are learning now will protect you later. There is also an environment shift occurring. You may feel compelled to clear spaces, change routines, simplify your surroundings. This is not random. Atmospheres carry memory. God often asks us to remove physical clutter so spiritual clarity can increase. Release what belongs to old seasons. Make room for what is coming. Chosen one, the authority forming in you will not be dramatic, but it will be undeniable. People will feel it before they understand it. Favor will respond without explanation. Resistance will dissolve quietly. This is the result of alignment, not effort. Stay faithful to the protocols heaven is teaching you now. Silence, withdrawal, discernment. These are not delays, they are gateways, and once they complete their work, what follows will not need defense, it will stand on its own. Chosen one, this is the moment where preparation turns into stewardship. What heaven is releasing now is not a surge of emotion, but a transfer of trust. God does not place weight on those who seek attention. He places weight on those who have learned consistency in silence, and you have learned that lesson well. The next season of your life will not be marked by chaos or urgency. It will be marked by order. What is coming will require rhythm, not rush. This is why the fire you feel now is steady instead of explosive. God is teaching you how to carry authority without burning out, how to move forward without needing to prove anything, how to let results speak where words once tried to explain. I remember learning this the hard way. There was a time I thought breakthrough meant constant excitement, visible movement, and instant confirmation. Instead, God taught me that real elevation often feels quiet. Responsibility settles before reward manifests, and when it does manifest, it stays. Chosen one, what you are stepping into is designed to last. This is where your words become important. You are no longer praying from desperation. You are aligning through agreement. Speak with intention. Do not declare one thing in prayer and undo it through careless speech. Heaven listens closely in this season because your authority has matured. Speak less, mean more. Let your language reflect trust, not fear. Your daily posture will matter more than isolated moments of passion. How you begin your day will shape how you carry authority through it. Giving God your first attention is not ritual, it is governance. It tells the unseen realm who leads your steps. When alignment begins early, interference loses access. You are also being called to ground the spiritual in the practical. Skill matters, preparation matters. Faithfulness includes development. God is not only opening doors, He is strengthening your hands to hold what waits on the other side. Revisit what you paused, sharpen what you neglected. Growth is obedience when it aligns with purpose. Consistency will protect what revelation unlocked. Many receive insight, but few sustain alignment. Do not allow fatigue to erode discipline. When your strength dips, rely on grace, not willpower. Ask for help. The Spirit sustains what effort alone cannot. Chosen one, the weight you carried in the hidden season is becoming authority in the visible one. What once felt like pressure will now function as stability. Peace will replace striving, direction will replace confusion, provision will arrive without panic. This is the signature of divine approval. Move forward with humility, not hesitation, with gratitude, not anxiety. Celebrate quietly, advance steadily, let the work speak for itself. You were tested because you were trusted, and now you are released, not to impress, but to steward. Remain aligned. Guard what has been entrusted to you. Walk faithfully into what unfolds next. The test is complete. The responsibility has begun. Chosen one, take a moment and let the weight of this hour settle gently on your spirit. What has been spoken is not emotional fire meant to fade by morning. It is